Word of mouth, the Boxing PlayHouse, without a doubt. All the latest and greatest boxing news, that's what it's all about.
What's up, guys? This is another night of Boxing PlayHouse After Dark series. And I'm Sakura A, and I got Emelio Santana with me.
What's up, y'all?
Breaking news. Guess what?
What's up?
Oh, we got a whole new lineup of boxing that just hit social media today. A couple of new fights in the works here, and some that are confirmed with the Premier Boxing Championship, promotional company. And then we also got some news on Eddie Hearns and his Matchroom Boxing, Fury versus AJ. So Clarissa Shields has news too. She's got the MMA fight lined up. So we got lots of stuff to talk about. Plus, we have an amazing guest tonight. So I can't wait to talk to him because I really like him.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I love him so much. It is Mike Rodriguez, the Cutman, baby.
Cutman.
Yes, yes. And he had a great weekend. He is going to be with us a little later in the show after we talk about some of these hot topics. And I think for the night, well, since you want to go ahead and toast without me, huh? You toasting without me?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you toasting without me.
No, we can go.
Okay, so we got to do Cutman.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could do WarTape. Because, Rodriguez, I guess, he's the owner and founder of WarTape.
WarTape, hey.
Yeah, so, what you want to do? WarTape or Cutman?
Cutman.
All right, toast to Cutman. And shout out to all the Cutmen that make all of these boxes safe and get them through these tough fights. Cuts and gashes and leg cramps and bad swellings of the eyes, broken noses, bloody lips. What else can we say?
Man,
I mean,
you said it all.
I mean, I'm sure there's some more things he could tell us that they actually have to work on. But we'll find out from him a little later. Now, here's the lineup of these Showtime fights. Brittany, let's see that Showtime fight. Basically, here we go. You see the list. Well, we knew about Lewis Neary versus Brandon Figueroa. So that's an interesting lineup.
Okay.
Then we got
Figueroa. That young man always bring a lot of action there. Brandon Figueroa.
Yes, I do like Brandon, but he's like toe-to-toe with you. And I like his aggression a lot.
Right.
But this is like a step up level for him. You see how they got him as the B-side.
Wow.
I mean, he's considered the B-side against Lewis Neary. So we got to see how this fight shape out. Yeah, I really do think that. And that's going to be May 15th.
15th, y'all.
Then May 29th. Oh, that's going to, wait a minute. Hold on now. This Neary Figueroa fight is going to be for a WBC Super Bantamweight World Championship.
Wow.
So we got a championship on the line. And then we got Northam on May 29th. Let's see. That's Northam Quabali versus Nonito Donaire. So
Filipino Flash, y'all.
That's right. He's back. Now, I had heard some rumors that he was thinking of retiring. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. He's still fighting to me.
Like, Nonito feel like he got a few more fights left in him. So, hey, let's see.
Yeah, I feel like he does too. I mean, that was an amazing fight with him and Monster.
Oh, man. I watched that fight like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. And that was it's going to be for a WBC Bantamweight championship too. Right. So we got a WBC Super Bantamweight and we got a WBC Bantamweight. So, this could have implications for later. as far as who's going to end up the two that matches up on the end.
Right.
Or somebody moves up and faces the other champion. Then we got June 19th with one of the Charlo twins.
Ooh.
He's going against Juan Montiel.
Wow, we might have to record that one. That sounds like Hall of Fame weekend now, the Florida Hall of Fame weekend.
It actually is, because June 18th is going to be the fight night here at the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame in St. Pete at the Clearwater Marriott. But we got Jamelle. Okay, he's saying this is for his WBC middleweight world championship title. I'm seeing a little pattern here. We got a lot of WBC going on here. Gotta love that green belt.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we got a pay-per-view special June 26th. How do you like it? We're talking Gervonta Tank Davis versus Mario Barrios. Barrios, yes.
Hey.
WBA super lightweight world champion on the line. And your boy, your favorite, Erickson Lubin, is on the undercard against Jason Rosario.
That's a good matchup right there.
That's a good fight card, period.
Those guys right there, they got one thing in common. They lost to Jamelle Charlo. In stunning fashion, matter of fact. Jamelle, he stunned both of those guys. He laid Lubin out with a unforeseen shot. Paralyzed Lubin, and he did the same thing with Jason Rosario. That jab to the solar plexus and laid him out. Remember that shot? A lot of people thought it was like a phantom punch. He hit Rosario
to the body.
He couldn't even get up, man, from a jab to the body. So
I know it was a freaky shot. I mean, and it worked, but I mean, now these two got to face each other, and styles make fights. So we don't know how this one is going to end up. And, you know, as far as Tank is concerned, what do you think about him being matched up with Mario? And what do you think about this being a pay-per-view? Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Sound like a good Showtime card to me. I don't know about pay-per-view.
All right, let's take a moment to get our guests in here. Of course, guys, when you comment, we need that hashtag BPH. So we appreciate all of our fans. Make sure you sign up for all of our channels and our Twitters. But we need you over there on that YouTube, because guess what? Our channel is about to start some exclusivity over there. It's things, in other words, you won't be able to get notification for your Facebook on, and it'll be exclusively for YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to our channel over there too. We got Dahlia Duran, the beautiful one.
Beautiful Dahlia.
She is a part of our team, and she's doing our Spanish interpretations for us and translations. So if anyone needs to know exactly what's going on, make sure you hit up Dahlia Duran, the beautiful Dahlia Duran. And thank her so much for her participation tonight. And then we got Ralphie, my friend Ralphie Gonzalez. What's up, Ralphie? He's the one that shot me this information on this hot off the press fight schedule.
Wow.
Ralphie was excited about all of these, apparently, except for the Charlo versus Montiel fight. So he says Jamelle versus Brian is going to be an awesome fight for sure. That's a must watch. Then we got Rob MC. That's right, from the UK, baby. Wow. What's up, Rob? We love you. And he says, hi, Sakura and Emelio.
Rob, what's up, man?
I know. He is so adorable. And he he is up late just for us.
Too. Look, he got his cup.
That's right. I feel so special. I feel
cut
so
man,
special.
Rob. Cut man.
Cut man. All right. And then let's see who else we got. Oh, she says, my pleasure anytime. That's the Dahlia Duran. So let's go to that fight that I can't think Ralphie told us about. He says it's a July 17th fight, and that is Jamelle. That is Jamelle Charlo. So he's going to be against Brian Castano. So Brian Castano has this belt that he wants, WBA super I'm sorry. What kind of belt is it? I forgot. It's for the Junior Middleweight World Championship. Unification. Yeah, I think Jamelle 154. He has a WBC. So now he wants to go after Brian Castano for his title. So it's a unification bout. So that's going to be interesting. So he's like, he thinks this is going to be an amazing fight.
I wonder if they send Jamelle his IBF belt yet. Remember, he was complaining after he whooped Harrison. He never. After he beat Rosario, he said he never got his belt. The IBF never sent him his belt. So I wonder if he got it yet.
Well, let's hope he did, because he can really be. He'll call you out when you ain't doing him right. Okay. He is not going to be silent about it. So in that case, he has the WBC and the IBF title. So that makes it a true 3-belt unification, maybe 4.
Laura got the WBA.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a 3-belt unification bout with this Charlo versus Castano, and then we got your man Chris Colbert versus Gamboa, July 2nd. Man. This is going to be a super featherweight interim championship with the WBA. I mean, what do you think?
Man, they passing Gamboa around like a joint. You take a hit, let me get a hit. They just passing Gamboa around, man.
Oh no, not like a joint.
Yeah,
I'm kind of over it, but you know what? I'm actually glad that Gamboa is collecting all this money, because he was avoided for so many years. So now he's getting to collect all these money with these new guys. As long as he stays healthy, and we'll have to see how this Achilles injury works out and plays into this, because now he's been through one additional fight since originally we found out he was hurt with the Tank Davis fight. So now, I'm kind of like curious to see where he's at in that recovery.
What Ralphie say?
Oh, let's see what Ralphie say. Let's see. Ralphie says Colbert by KO. Okay. I hear you. What round then? I mean, I hear you, Ralphie, but what round?
I think Colbert want to make a statement, man. Gamboa went, he went about 9 or 10 rounds with Tank, and then he went the distance with Devin Haney. So I think this is a good time for Colbert to go on and try to get Gamboa out of there.
Finish him early.
Yeah, get him out of there, and that'll make a little statement. He can say, "Hey, I got him out quicker than y'all did." That's about the only thing I can say out of this fight.
I mean, if Haney didn't get him out, if Tank didn't really get him out until the 11th, or was it the 12th? It was real late. Yeah, like how is Colbert gonna do that?
Well, Colbert's a southpaw too.
He is, but I mean, I just never seen him displaying a lot of power. So
most of the times,
but that's true. He can catch him off guard, maybe, and it's always the shot you don't see, right?
Yeah, Colbert kind of, got that southpaw and different angle, hit you from different angles. So and he's explosive at times when he wants to. So I can see him hitting Gamboa with something he don't see, and maybe getting him out of there early.
Ralphie says he gonna stop him in the spot of 6.
Ralphie say, "Hey, I'm gonna go with Ralphie." Ralphie say 6. I'm gonna go with 6 too.
Okay, then. Now we got August. We're almost through with this here. August the 14th. They got Rigondeaux versus John Real Casamar. Wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that one. Now this one would be a WBO Bantamweight World Championship. These are a lot of championship fights that they just, dropped on our laps as boxing fans. I mean, I'm excited about all these announced fights, and every last one of them is like a championship fight.
Rigondeaux coming back. I thought I was going to have to put him back on that milk box. So he's trying to hang around. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what he got left.
At bantamweight, he can dominate. We know this. So it's no need to think that he wouldn't. Wow, I think our guest is in the house now, so we can ask him about some of these matchups, which one and he's actually excited about when we get him on. And the last matchup is at super middleweight. It's Benavidez, baby. And he is going against Ucastaga. What do you think?
With that guy there, Jose.
Yeah, Jose. Okay, and it's August the 26th.
Title Eliminator, WBC Title Eliminator.
Oh, so it's August the 28th. I'm sorry, I just got that date wrong. But Benavidez, what can you say? I mean, this is not either one of the people that he said he wanted to fight. Right. Neither one of them.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. I was hoping him and Jamelle Charlo could have been, in an eliminator, winner get Canelo type fight. I can't blame. Hey, my hat's off to David Benavidez because he called these guys out, man. They had their back and forth thing on Twitter, but hey, these guys feel like they didn't want that smoke with David Benavidez.
Yeah, something's going on. They're gonna try to stretch these fights out. Look like to me. Okay, so we got through with that. Now we're gonna talk Clarissa Shields. She has a fight date, but not boxing. No. This is gonna be her debut at MMA, and it's gonna be June 10th. And that is, I don't know what to say about this situation here. We're gonna have to wait and see. She's gonna be fighting Brittany Elkin, and we'll just have to see how that's gonna play out with her debut. But I did hear that some of my friends had saw her in training, out in California, and she was doing really well. I did hear that. So let's see how that's gonna work out. Now, of course, I know you heard about this documentary that's coming out, right? The Four Kings.
Oh man.
The Four Kings, baby.
Oh, I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, that's gonna be amazing.
The Four Kings, that's my favorite era in boxing. And I ain't just saying that, man. I grew up in the early 80s, man. I grew up watching these guys every week. Worlds of Sports Sunday. Back in the day when you could keep up with the fighters. The fighters was on regular TV, and then, they had the main fight on a pay-per-view, but you were still able to keep up with these guys on a regular basis. These guys fought each other. And so I can't wait to see that documentary.
Okay, well, Ralphie, getting back to David Benavidez, I missed his comment on that. He says, David going to stop him fast. Just prove plan. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, we can see that. And then Rob says, wow, the Four Kings, that would be awesome. Wait, when it out and what channel? Well, Showtime documentary. They have their sports documentaries now. And it's going to be June 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, baby. So you need to set your clock for that. Now,
the only thing that's bothering me about that is, I would love to see Marvin Hagler be around, with the guys probably talking about this right now. I'm sure they're going to be on shows or doing interviews. It would have been nice to see all 4 of these guys.
And he's resting in peace now. So we have to respect what God has said has to be. But I understand you. Now let's go ahead and introduce our guest, Mr. Cutman Extraordinaire. Mike Rodriguez. Mr. WarTape, what's up tonight?
Man, you guys are on one tonight. You guys are all excited. I like the energy. I like it.
We can't hear you really good. Can you turn your volume up a little bit?
I think I got it up full blast. Hold on.
Okay.
Is that better?
It's a little better. Yes. So let me see. So what exactly did you say a minute ago? We're great. I love when somebody says I'm great.
You're bringing that energy. I like that.
Oh, because we're excited. These are a lot of great things that just hit, that's coming out with boxing right now. After last year and COVID and everything,
I'm excited as well because whenever a big calendar gets announced, I'm always looking forward to, being blessed to, to work some of these fights.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be amazing. But first, before you start telling us about this amazing career that you've been able to carve out for yourself, I want to know, what are you more excited about? These active fighters and the new fights that they have coming out? Or are you more excited about the documentary with the four kings?
Well, you know, as much as I grew up in that era, and when you talk about those four kings, and then you talk about other princes and kings that were around at that time, I mean, it's just a good example for people to look at now what sports can be. And I think that's the great thing about it, is it's a great reference point, a great anchor, because when you look at those four kings, they had the anchor of having the benefit of having guys like Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Ken Norton, and you're talking about, you know, Tommy Hearns and Duran and Ray Leonard, you know, and Marvin Hagler. And then you even look at that next generation, which was pretty damn good too, with Milton McCrory and Donald Curry and Mike McCallum. And I mean, it's like a pedigree. It's like a Marlon Starling and Lloyd Hunnigan, and you know that transitions into Pernell Whitaker. And I'm gonna spit some knowledge, you know, in the Buddy McGirts, you know, and that translates, you know, into the next generation, you know, with the Oscar De La Hoyas, Trinidad Mosleys, and Ike Cortez, and that runs right into, you know, Pacquiao and Mayweather, and it just keeps moving. It keeps moving, and then you got now looking at Bud Crawford and Errol Spence and all the guys around there. So it's really, everything is like a chain. It's connected, and I think in boxing, we're only as strong as that weakest link. And I think there's a lot of great fights to be made, and hopefully, by watching this documentary, it inspires people that it's not really about your record. It's not really about the money. It's about your legacy and your pedigree. And that's something that I like to concentrate on my own Cutman boxing career. That's what I think about, is pedigree and legacy.
Hey, Mike, do you feel Wilfred Benitez should have been part of the four kings, maybe five kings? Nah.
Absolutely, man. God bless Wilfred Benitez. Here's the guy that's there wasn't interim champions, there wasn't champions, there wasn't regular champion, franchise champions, and there wasn't five
super champion.
Wilfred Benitez won the junior welterweight title as a 17-year-old kid. And other people forget too, Pepino Cuevas won the world title as an 18-year-old kid.
Right.
So absolutely, Wilfred Benitez, man, was a boxing savant. And he's actually part of that. So you can't have 14 stories without Wilfred Benitez. Absolutely.
He was the youngest dude to ever win a world title at 17.
He was 17 years old, and Pepino Cuevas was 18.
Oh, Cuevas was 18. Okay. Wow.
See, he knows his boxing. Now,
I go back to when Jesus Christ was teaching in Omaha. That's how far back I go back.
Now, don't go back that far now. Don't do it to us, Mike. Don't do it.
Hey, Mike, before Leonard and them, who was it? Jose Napoles? Was it before Ray Leonard? Was it Jose Napoles?
You had the Carlos Palominos, Jose Napoles, you know, and that's just how that pedigree. That's how that pedigree goes back. So I mean, it's just the welterweight division is truly the golden division. As much as the heavyweights carried the sport, the best matchups, the best fights, and a lot of your greatest fighters, including Sugar Ray Robinson, they were all what? Henry Armstrong, they were all what at one time? They were all welterweight world champions.
Wow.
And we got Dahlia Duran. She says, four kings, the golden era of boxing. So many beautiful memories. Big shout out to my father, the one and only Roberto Duran. Hands of stone. Hashtag BPH. Absolutely. Yeah, we love that.
I got a story for you about her dad. Is that we were at some fights and we both arrived late one night. Flew in. We're going to do a appearance the next night. I drove in. We got to the checkout to the hotel at the same time. He looked over at me. We acknowledged that we were both with the fights. He said he was hungry. Everything in the casino was closed. Roberto Duran got in my car, and we went to In-N-Out Burger. And there I am, with like sitting there with one of my idols, trying to order us some cheeseburgers. and we came back to the hotel lobby, and there it was at 1 a.m. Me and Manos de Piedras, the greatest lightweight that ever lived, greatest fighters that ever lived, are sitting on the couch in the lobby eating out cheeseburgers at 1 a.m. It's one of the best things.
Oh my God! Like some of his greatest stories have to include a lot of food. I'm noticing that.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great story.
That is an amazing story. Like, I need a story like that. How about you?
Yeah, that's a great story. What fight was that, Mike? Do you remember what fight?
Yeah, it was at the Fantasy Springs fight, and Golden Boy had brought Duran in to do like they would bring in like Larry Holmes. They would bring in Duran, other fighters to do like a meet and greet out in front of the arena or during when the fights were going on. It was something really cool. Premier Boxing did that too. Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder. Brought a lot of the heavyweights back, and they had introduced them. And it's really a neat thing because basically what you're talking about is the Four Kings. It's connecting those dots and that lineage to fighters, and I think that's a wonderful thing because fighters, like most athletes, I think you can say that the one thing you miss the most is you miss that the crowd and the electricity of feeling so alive when you're doing something you love.
Right.
So tell us a little bit more about how you originally got introduced to boxing. I mean, childhood, like when did you fall in love with this sport?
When I was about 4 or 5 years old, I'm watching fights. My dad, my grandfather, and I'm watching schoolboy Bobby Chacon and welterweight Armando Muniz, who used to fight out of LA. I'm a little kid, and they're glued to the TV. I remember watching the Rumble in the Jungle when I was 8, 9 years old. With the Thrilla in Manila with Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, and boxing is truly the theater of the unexpected. And I grew up in a sports family, played a lot of sports, and it's just something that I just fell in love with, that raw, organic, natural setting of two people basically putting their ass on the, and you going into that ring all alone. I think I fell in love with that aspect of it, and I think that's why I have so much respect for any fighter, not just your undefeated champions. Sometimes I got more respect for a guy that comes in that's had 8 wins and 9 losses, a guy that's 15-0, because you know what? He's putting his ass on the line, and I always try to show every fighter that I work with, every fighter that I meet, regardless of the record. A lot of people want to be around the world champions and get them on video and, hey, give me a shout out. But I try to give all fighters their respect because they absolutely 100% deserve that.
Hey, Mike, I got a question. I want to know who's your favorite all-time fighter and what fighter you like today?
Today? Oh man, I don't mention about 40 guys, man. I'm gonna hurt the people because I work with about 50 fighters, including with my son helping me out, about 50 fighters worldwide. But you know, you form a special relationship. Fighters, especially fighters you've gone through battles with. I've had Julian J. Rock Williams since the beginning of his career. We won a world title. We went into Hurd's hometown with his trainer, Stephen Breadman Edwards, and nobody thought we were going to win. And you know what? We knew we were going to win. I just finished the fight with Sergey Lipinets, who lost to Jaron Ennis. And Jaron Ennis, man, is truly the next great fighter. But I've been with Sergey his whole career. And they wanted me there because they knew Sergey would be in a tough fight. And it's just a special one you have with a fighter. Guys like Sean Porter, Julian Williams, guys like Errol Spence that I've worked with, Manny Pacquiao. It's just there's something about greatness you just can't sprinkle on anybody, and sometimes it rub off other than the fact that they're great. I remember being at the MGM Grand working with Manny Pacquiao, and before the national anthem was over, everybody's yelling Manny, Manny, and I'm sitting next to Freddie Roach, and thank God a boxing website actually filmed us and Freddie from behind, and the electricity in that arena. And I'm actually sitting there thinking to myself, and I'm literally going back in my mind to when I was 5, 6 years old, looking up thinking, I can't believe that I'm here. I didn't care as a fighter. Damn, I'm right here. So part of this and part of this team, and I think that's when it came home. And it's I was humbled by it. I was very humbled. I was very grateful because those are the moments, no matter the money, whatever, you can't put a price tag on those kind of things. And I just think you have that individual bond with fighters and respect fighters that they know that you're a very valuable member, of the team, and to be treated fairly is a blessing.
Okay, kind of broke up a little bit on the end there, Mike. I couldn't hear the end of what you were saying. But I wanted to open up a conversation with you because, I mean, a little birdie told me that you were in a difficult corner this weekend. As a matter of fact, and you was helping take care of a really nasty cut.
I'm sorry, you're doing that again.
I said a little birdie told me that you were helping in a corner this weekend in a real contentious fight, and you was handling a difficult cut.
I have the fighters that I've had the difficult cuts with.
Yeah, didn't that happen this weekend?
I'm having trouble hearing your guy. It's freezing.
Yeah, you froze up on us. You want to try to call back in with us? Because sometimes if somebody tries to call in for you or something like that.
Let me call you right back.
Okay, awesome. So I like Mike because he has a wealth of knowledge, and he's very, very extremely talented at his job. And he took just an innocent, hey, let me do this Cutman thing and see how that works, and got interested in some key people, and they were able to help establish him, and now he does great work in a lot of people's corners.
Right. He said he was in the Lipinet's corner last week.
You know what? I did not even see him in Lipinet's corner last week. That's crazy. And I should have been like, Mike, that was Mike. And then I heard he was in the corner this weekend too with somebody else too.
On the cut?
I had a cut on the undercard.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was trying to ask him that, but we didn't get that far for his system wanted to mess up on him. But he's an amazing person. And I mean, while we're waiting, we want to go ahead, Brittany, and pull up the WarTape that he is the founder and has work that he does with this WarTape, apparently. People like WarTape. Team Tomlin, they say that he looks out for them with WarTape as well. So this is something that's really helping protect a lot of boxers right now. Okay, we got Mike back. Let's bring him back in.
Hey, can you hear me?
Turn the light on,
We
Mike.
can hear you, but turn the light on. Oh, there you go. Yeah, what we were saying is we were talking about your WarTape and how you came up with that concept. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, I can't take all the credit. The story, but Phil and Kai Tori are the original founders and owners of WarTape. And about 11 years ago, through a mutual relative of mine that they knew, they asked me if I could partner with them because of my boxing expertise, the contacts I had in the sport. Excuse me. So we just kind of built it brick by brick, and now we're pretty much the industry standard in combat sports. And when you see other big brands that have kind of copied our model, but yet we still have all the top fighters in the world, the Canelo Alvarez's and the Errol Spence's and the Charlos and Mikey Garcia's. And I mean, it's easier for me to actually name the fighters and the trainers and the Cutman that don't use our product, and we're trusted worldwide. We're real big over in Russia, Japan, Australia, Mexico, obviously. Wow. So it's something that works hand in hand with what I do, protecting fighters and working and making sure they can get to that next round, but now also being able to provide them with a product that protects their hands, because if what's a fighter's biggest asset? It's his hands, and I'm also grateful to be a part of that extended family as well to work with many, many great teams. I mean, you have trainers like Freddie Roach and Derek James and Robert Garcia, Joel Diaz, Ronnie Shields, Stephen Edwards. I mean, it's Kevin Cunningham. Kevin texted me today. He's like, man, Mike, I got my box of tape. Ariano Sosa is like, Mike, I got my tape. He's trained Chris Colbert. Chris is going to have that big fight with Gamboa. I work with them. You know, it's definitely a blessing, and it's just nice to bring people together because it's a big world out there. Really, in line with this boxing, it's really a small, tight-knit community. For better or for worse, it really is a tight-knit community.
Matter of fact, we got Daryl Tomlin from Ty Tomlin's Short Fuse team, and he says, "What's up, Mike?"
Yeah, he's one of our newest fighters, and that's part of the WarTape family, and he's probably going to break out big. Most of these guys, you know, they start off slow. They start off in the local club circuit, and then they get their big opportunity on TV. And when they end of the fight, they got their hand up. You know, that's when we get our money back because people see, wow, some kid out there will be like, I want to be like Ty. I want to have my hands wrapped like him. So it's good for his business, and, you know, it's good for our business.
Absolutely. And congratulations on the success for that, Mr. Global. And we love Ty. Ty is definitely on his way. He's amazing. The team is amazing. His dad, that's like family to us. So they're gonna always be in our corner.
So fuse.
Yeah, and we're gonna always be in their corner. So tell me a little bit about your work outside of the ring, because first when you cut out on us a minute ago, we were actually asking you about who you helped in the corner this past weekend. Like I heard that you was in 2 corners and they had significant cuts.
I had Sergey Lipinets, whose face was really banged up when he fought Jaron Ennis, and I think anybody's face is going to get banged up, and that's one of the reasons I was there, because I've worked with Sergey his whole career, and he's had some bad cuts over the years. But I'm telling you, a really nasty cut that I had was Thomas Delorme when he fought Imona Stanionis. And he got cut in the 9th or 10th round. And, you know, one of the things I was thinking was, I'm glad this cut didn't happen in the 2nd or 3rd round, because it was pretty bad. And you know what? He lost. Thomas lost. Man, take your hat off of that guy. He ain't never ducked anybody. Look at his resume of the fighters that he's fought. And you want to know the weird thing about the bubble is I've worked with Delorme, okay? But Stanionis is my regular fighter. Okay, he's my regular fighter, but I was kind of brought in last minute for this show, and I usually work the blue corner for PBC on Fox. But for this show, because I was working with Lipinets, they said, hey, can you just work the red corner? And I didn't want to be like, I got to work against 2 of my own guys. But it's part of being pro. It's part of the bubble. It's a little bit different now. I'm a team player. I'm always going to be a good Indian. And, you know, right now, because the promoters are bringing in the Cutman, I'm grateful for the work. And, you know, I'm always going to say yes and, you know, and be a good soldier. But I had to talk to Freddie, and I had to talk to Marvin, you know, because they had Stanionis and they had Mark Magasayo on the non-televised portion. And I kind of had to say, and they look at me and they're like, oh, cool, you're here. And I'm like, I'm here, but I'm not going to be able to work with you tonight. And, you know, because of the strong ties and the relationship I have, you know, with my wild card family, with Freddie and Marie and Marvin, you know, everybody was a pro about it. But hats off to Thomas. I like Thomas. I've had a chance to be around him. I've worked several of his fights. I worked with him when he was with Joel Diaz, when he fought Jamal James, and I work with him now with Ismael Salas. He's a tough out. You can call him on the phone.
Yeah, for sure.
We have this really tough fighter, and we want you to fight him. And you know what? I don't think Thomas Delorme ever says no. Yeah, he lost that fight, but I think hats off. I had a cap, I'd tip it, because Stanionis is a young bull, and Thomas is a true pro, and he's what professional boxing is all about. He's a guy that's not ducking anybody, and you know what? He's able to make a living at it. You know, yeah, he took some bumps and bruises, and I think Stanionis just has a bright future, and it's an exciting to see like fighters like him, Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Ennis, you know, in this welterweight division. So it lets me know that chain that we were talking about earlier has a chance to get stronger.
Hey, Mike, what's the next big card you got coming up, or fighter you got?
And I'm going to be there Saturday for the Fox fights. I'll probably be in Tony Harrison's corner.
Oh, wow.
Vito Melanicki's on that card. We have Fox on Saturday here in LA. And then we have a quick turnaround on Tuesday night. We got Fox Sports 1. So I saw the big announcements by Showtime. By the grace of God, I'm hoping that if they're out this way, that they want me to work those Showtime fights as well. Just put me in, coach. And with the Fox fights, I'm sure Fox is going to have an equal announcement, because if you look at all the fighters that fight on Showtime, you know, you still got fighters that haven't had fights announced, like Sean Porter and Errol Spence, and, you know, a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You probably got Julian.
Half of their talent yet.
Yeah, you got Jared Hurd, you got Julian Williams, and I'm only mentioning one division, and then you got, you know, a bunch of other guys that typically fight on Fox that are going to be announced. So I'm hoping that I'm going to have a really, really busy summer, and I need to take a bunch of time off from work.
Absolutely. That was going to be the next part of our segment, just finding out some of your background. But did you have any other questions about his Cutman career?
No, that's pretty interesting, man. I didn't know you dealt with that many fighters, Mike.
Yeah.
Man.
I got fighters from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Russia, the Ukraine, Armenia, Mongolia, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Tucson, New York. I mean,
You got some women fighters?
Huh?
You got any women fighters? Women? Any women?
I do. I have Jessica McCaskill. I was in Dallas with Jessica just
last
month.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Big shout out to Jessica and Rick Ramos, man. I mean, hey, she's the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. I mean, and Jelena Marinovich, who fought on the Ring City card, she's got a fight coming up. She was cut really bad against Paula Torres. I was able to stop the bleeding in that fight, and she defended her title. So yeah, I'm big into women's boxing. I don't look at it as women's boxing. I look at it as they are fighters. And
it's boxing, right? I told you. Well, Mike, what do you think about this Clarissa Shields and the MMA move? Do you think this is going to be good for her career?
I mean, how can it be bad? She's a fighter. You know what I mean? And fighters do what? They fight. And if they can't get she just had a boxing match. So, you know, if she wants to do MMA, here's a big thing in life, everybody. And this is what I say. I'm blessed. I'm a homicide detective. I get to work at law enforcement at its highest levels. I've been a cop for 33 years. I've been a homicide detective for 17 years. The last 2 years, I supervised the missing persons unit at homicide. And I also get to work with elite fighters at the highest level. If you can pursue your passion in life, what's better than that? And there's nothing wrong with taking a chance. The problem is there's people out there that are always, they're going to try to put you down no matter what you do. Hey, follow your dreams, follow your passions, and good things will happen.
Yes. And we want to thank you for your service too, with being a detective and all of this. You know, last time when I got to speak to you on heavy bag boxing, we got really deep into your career on the law enforcement side. And I had asked you this question about, had you ever had a case where you had someone really got beaten to death or beaten severely? And you told me yes.
I actually did. And I saw a video of an incident that happened where a guy got punched and he died. And as soon as I saw the punch, I said, that's not some cat off the street. This dude knows how to fight. He knows how to box. Okay. And when we ended up finding the guy, when I interviewed him, he kind of bragged about that he's really a good fighter. And he kind of was taking credit for the fact that, hey, I knocked this dude out. I didn't mean to kill him. The part that he didn't mention was we also saw him on the video after he knocked the dude out. He kicked him a bunch of times in the head. And that's what really got him the murder charge. Mm-hmm. But it turned out the gym that he worked out at and trained, I think he actually had 2 pro fights. I knew everybody at that gym. I didn't tip my hand to him at that time, but it was just part of our case. And you know what? Boxing is a theater of the unexpected, and sometimes the criminal element of everyday society is going to melt over into boxing, which also has a lot of people in law enforcement, involved as well.
Yeah. I hear exactly what you're saying, but I mean, the most curious part about the story was when you said that he didn't realize how deep and how well connected you were in boxing to the point where you could call up the gym and they knew his name and everything.
Absolutely. So his bragging a little bit kind of brought that out. It piqued my interest, but I could tell by the way he threw his right hand, this wasn't some guy just off the street. Somebody had taught him properly how to throw a punch.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, that makes it more like your hands are a lethal weapon, right? When you have that training.
Well, absolutely, and it always amazes me when I see these so-called fake tough guys that run around puffing their chest out, and then when you see them work the mitts or work their hands in a real fight, most of these cats can't get down at all. You know what I mean? So it's always funny. I'm like, I see these guys posting stuff, and I'm like, man, I would keep it a humongous secret that you can't get down at all.
Yeah, that's always the case. It's like it's way easier to pick on someone that doesn't have any skill at all, right?
Yeah, but sometimes they run into the wrong guy that they think, quote unquote, don't have any skills, and then that tide ends up turning on them real quick.
Hey, Mike, I was curious. Do you have any Mike Tyson stories? You met Mike Tyson?
No, but my one good buddy, John Bray, who was a tremendous amateur, and John was a trainer to Robert the Ghost Guerrero for a while. John was a longtime sparring partner to Mike, and he used to tell me stories, because me and Mike are actually the same age. Mike is like, I think his birthday's coming up in June, mine's in March, so he's going to be 55, and I just turned, shockingly, I know you guys can't believe this, I just turned 55. But I remember...
Right.
I
remember the amateurs. Thank God, fighting. Believe I'm 6'4", 250 pounds, so I'm a heavyweight now. But as a 15-year-old kid, I fought at 119 pounds. So thank God, Mike was already like 175 pounds. I was 50 pounds light in the ass back then. But my buddy, he was in camp with Mike Tyson numerous times, and he said that one time they were in Vegas and Mike was bored. So they went to the car dealership, and Mike bought like 20 people brand new cars just because he was bored.
No kidding. No way. 20 people?
Yeah, he took like 20 people to the car dealership, and everybody got to pick out a car.
Wow, so, that's pretty amazing. That is amazing.
Me and John are at the Staples Center probably like 11, 12 years ago when Vitaly Klitschko fought Chris Areola. And Mike was there. And just funny how things go around, because I ended up working with Chris later on. Mike's sitting there, and everybody's all over Mike. Mike this, Mike that. And he's just kind of sitting there like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? But when he saw my buddy, John Bray, his former sparring partner, he got up out of his seat and walked about 50 feet to go over there and give him a hug. And you can just tell the genuine affection they had to each other, you know, because they were in camp together for a long time. And that just shows you the kind of guy he is.
Wow. I didn't know that. So you think you're going to be in Chris's corner for his U.S. fight?
You know what? I don't know. I'm hoping to work the fights because it is on Fox. But usually I work the blue corner for the Fox fights. And I think Andy Ruiz is going to be in the blue corner. Now, Chris is being trained by Joe Goosen, who I just worked with Joe. And Joe's always been one of my really good friends and one of my really big supporters. Joe was the trainer for Sergey Lipinets the other night. So when I go to the arena, sometimes I'm not really in control of who I work with. I've had to, like I said, I had to work opposite a couple of my fighters. When Anthony Durrell last month fought Karan Davis on Fox, Karan Davis from Wilmington, Delaware, trains a lot in Philly with Stephen Edwards. I was assigned the blue corner to work with Anthony, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I've been with Karan every fight, but I had to work opposite of him because, like I said, the pandemic has kind of changed the rules for some of the things because of safety protocols, and it's not the fighter hiring the cut man, bringing him in, it's the promoter. So
it's not a promoter, okay.
And TGB and PDC have treated me fantastic. They're great to work with. So whatever they ask me to do, I'm always going to be a professional about it, and I'm always going to do what's asked of me.
Man, that's something I just found out tonight, Mike. I didn't know that. I thought, each corner, bring in their own cut man. I didn't know you get a sign like that.
Normal circumstances, because it's not really the promoter, it's the athletic commissions that are limiting the amount of people. So okay. They're only allowing a fighter to bring in 2 people, and they already provide the cut man. That's 2 or 3 less people in each corner that they don't have to worry about, possibly having COVID or exposing other people. And basically what they're doing is they're trying to limit the exposure to everybody. And it's really smart. And it's really safe. So, a lot of cut men and a lot of trainers aren't working as much. I've been blessed since boxing opened back up since last June. I've been busy with PBC. I've worked Top Rank. I've worked Matchroom, but primarily with PBC. So I'm basically a house cut man right now until things go back to normal. So normally for PBC box, I'm in the blue corner, and that's usually what they consider the A side. But you've had plenty of upsets and stuff, and wherever they tell me to go, I'm going to go because they're the boss and they know best.
Exactly. That's a great new relationship you've got going, and we never know. They may not decide to go back to that method. I mean, if it cuts down.
You know what? I've thought about that as well. And I'm kind of like, well, I got a lot of work with some people that I hadn't worked with before, like Harris, Barra, some other guys. But then again, I've had to watch on TV for the for other fights, like on Top Rank or even the Showtime fights that I wasn't working. I've had to watch my own fighters, on TV where I couldn't be there. So it's kind of a mixed bag. You just got to be a robot. But it's kind of like watching your girlfriend, through the window, slow dancing with somebody else. You know what I mean?
He's a mess.
Like your girlfriend saying, "I'm going to go to Vegas, but I'll be home on Sunday." And it's like, man.
That's difficult though, because you want to, especially if a fighter you used to be in their corner and you can't get to them, and you're like, damn it, I know exactly what to do. If I was in the corner, like that has to be nerve-wracking too.
Yeah, but fortunately, the cut man they've worked with, like Danny Milano or a Mike Basil or Aaron Navarro or a Stitch Duran, these guys know what they're doing. They're my colleagues. They're my peers. A lot of people don't know this, but Stitch Duran was my boxing coach in the Air Force when I was 18, 19, before he was ever Stitch Duran, the cut man, in the UFC. So I go back with him, over, 35 years since I was a teenager. I knew him before he was even Stitch. He was just Jacob. I still call him Jacob. And now to be able to be at this point of our lives where, we do something we love at a high level, I mean, what's better than that?
That's true. That's amazing, because you're working with what you find passionate and developing more family.
Exactly. And that's kind of how it is with, at Pullman's gym with my buddy John Pullman, and the way it is at Wild Card with the whole Wild Card family, with Freddie Roach and Marie and Manny Pacquiao, and Sean Gibbons has a lot of the Manny Pacquiao Filipino fighters in there, and he got fighters from all over the world in there. I mean, UFC champ Tony Ferguson's training there now. Whenever I get a chance to stop by, Tony's over there. You got former Olympian who was on the 92 Olympic team, training guys over there that was with Oscar De La Hoya on the same Olympic team. Pepe Riley. Pepe trained Ray Beltran his whole career, won a world title. You got Marvin. I mean, there's just so many people over there. It's a second family. It's like when you go there, and I was really, really humbled because me and Freddie have the same birthday, March 5th. So, of course, every birthday I go over there to say hi to Freddie. Sometimes we're out of town, we're working fights. And I was just very blessed and humbled that every part of that birthday party they had for Freddie on that day on March 5th, they included me. They included me in that whole thing, and I was completely shocked because on that day I always take a back seat to Freddie's birthday, and not this. And they had a cake and balloons for me, and I wanted to cry, but I don't want to cry in front of everybody because I was gonna be like Red and Friday, and they said, "Man, he's gonna go back in the car. He's gonna cry."
Well, we got some questions for you. That is so sweet. I would have been like in shock too. Like, wow, I'm having a party with Freddie Roach,
Whatever you guys do, man, don't tell Freddie and everybody else that I was about to cry over there, okay?
I'll think about it. Okay, we got Dahlia. She has a question for you. She says, have you ever had a fight stopped because of a bad cut.
And I hate to even jinx myself. I hate to do it. So hold on. I'm going to knock on wood over here. Yes. It's just the worst. It's like, because I don't want to say the answer. And then come Saturday, something bad happened. But I've never had a cut that I was allowed to work on get stopped. I've had a couple of fights where Marcus Brown fought Jean Pascal about a year and a half ago at Barclays Center. He got cut in the middle of the round, and it busted an artery, and it would just squish. I mean, just spewing blood.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
They stopped the fight, but Marcus never got to sit down where I worked on him, and they stopped it. They correctly stopped the fight. He had busted an artery. There was going to be nothing that me, Moses, and Jesus Christ were going to be able to do for him that night. What's
so funny is before that fight started, Mike, I was like, Marcus better watch out for that deadly overhand right hook Pascal got.
And I love Marcus, and I just texted with Marcus. Matter of fact, me and Marcus just texted yesterday. He's actually going to fight on the FS1 show Tuesday night, just kind of a little comeback, stay busy fight, I think, off TV. Or maybe it might be on TV.
But I have no idea.
This Tuesday, Mike?
On Tuesday night on FS1, Marcus will be fighting, yeah.
Huh, that's a little secret.
So
what other secrets are you hiding?
I know, right? I got things up my sleeve, but sometimes I'm just not at liberty to let anybody know. So I'm a homicide.
Go ahead and tell us who Pacquiao got lined up. That's what you need to do.
Who he fighting, Mike? Who he fighting?
Man, you know what? I'm going to tell you guys right now. You guys really want to know?
Yeah.
I don't have any idea. People call me up and they say, Mike, give me the inside scoop. You know, I think I've survived in this business and being a homicide detective because I can keep a secret. You know what I mean? I think I can keep a secret that if you rob a bank with me, you know, too many cats a day they're running that thing, they're running their mouths. They're leaving breadcrumbs all over the place. I'm never going to leave breadcrumbs. But honestly, I know they're working on something for Manny. I just don't know what. I'm hoping it's always going to be big with Manny. I mean, Manny just kind of transcends sport, whether it be here or somewhere else around the world. I already got my bag packed. I'm ready to go.
I know. I mean, I wanted that Bud fight. I cannot lie. I really did. I mean, because if he goes out like that, I don't want to hear nothing and nobody tell me that Manny Pacquiao isn't on a pound for pound list for like top 5. I almost want to say he is now because of the Keith Thurman fight. Like, who else at that age is fighting a whole nother generation of welterweights and winning? Like, I'm blown away by his career in general, but that is like really noteworthy.
It's greatness. He's the only 8 division world champion. And like I explained that story earlier, I'm literally in the ring apron. They're playing the national champion and they're introducing him afterwards. And I'm like, I can't believe that I'm here. I can't believe that they picked me to work this corner.
Right.
Thousands of people, millions of people watching. And that's when you really appreciate the hard work that you've put in. But it also takes many great people that have belief in you to make those kind of things happen, you know? So it's one of those things that no matter how much money I make in the sport or how much money I die when I have in my bank account when I die, those are truly the things in life that you can't put a price tag on, that'll always live inside of me. If I'm ever in a bad mood, I just think of that feeling of being on that ring apron when they're introducing Manny Pacquiao and, you know, 20,000 people are going crazy and you could just feel the energy. I mean, it's just nuts.
Palpable, yes.
When you win a world title with your fighter, winning that night, the world title, when Sean Porter beat Devin Alexander at Barclays Center, when Sergey Lipinets beat Hiroki Okada at Barclays Center, when Julian Williams
at 140, right? Yeah.
Julian Williams beat Jared Hurd, and nobody thought, you know, we were going to win that title. Going to Moscow, Russia, Freddie Roach's fighter, Denis Lebedev, when he defended his title against Yuri Kalanga, and you got 25,000 people, Russians, you know, singing and just loving their fighter, Denis Lebedev. I mean, it's just working with Francisco Vargas, El Bandito, when he fought Salido in one of the greatest fights ever, and he's cut to shreds, and I was able to get him through every round. I mean, those are the things, you know, those are the things you think about when you look back. Now, is it pressure? Absolutely. Are there times that I'm looking at some of these guys' faces and I'm thinking, oh my God, who's going to stop that? And then I think to myself, you know what? I better do something. But yeah.
He's like, who's going to stop that? Oh, it's me.
Exactly. So, you know, but that's the edge, you know, being a homicide detective, a former fighter. You know, it's like there's physically something I'm doing in that ring that's helping this guy get to the next round. And I take a lot of pride in that. And I take a lot of pride because of the people that have done it before me. You know, the Eddie Alianos, the Al Gavins, the Ralph Citros, the Joe Chavez, the Joe Souzas, the Stitch Durans, the Carlos Vargases. I'm going to name a bunch of people. The Russ Anber, Rudy Hernandez, Mike Basil, you know, the Danny Milano, Aaron Navarro. You know, those are the people that when you bridge the
hey.
A lot of people don't know this, but Angelo Dundee is known as a great trainer. Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, he's also one of the greatest cutmen that ever lived. You know, a lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, when you when Badu Jack had that bad cut, did you look at that fight and was like, man, they need to stop this? Or did you look at it and like, man, I could do something with that?
I'll tell you why, because I worked the opposite corner that night with Marcus Brown, and I was thinking Russ Anber was his cut man, and I'm thinking, my God, that's probably the worst cut I ever seen. And then you fast forward a year, and Marcus gets one of the worst cuts that I've ever seen. But I mean, look, boxing is one of those businesses, folks, that is very unforgiving. It's very unforgiving with the fighters. I was in the corner the night in Chicago in October of 2019 when Patrick Day died that night in the ring. Even though they pronounced him dead a couple of days later, Patrick Day basically died that night in the ring. I was there. Boxing is very unforgiving. Boxing is one of them sports that everybody thinks they can do your job better than you because, you know, it's a kind of a feast or a famine cutthroat business. But there are just some times where it's not safe for a fighter, and I don't ever say, oh, the cut man didn't do his job because the fight got stopped. I mean, you patch the guy up, and he goes out, he keeps getting hit, and maybe he gets more cut. I remember when Francisco Vargas fought Salido, he had 4 cuts. I remember a fight my son worked on Showtime with Abel Ramos, who's getting ready to fight Omar Figueroa. I couldn't make it, so my son filled in, and he fought Ivan Berlin, main event on Showbox. And I was so proud of my son Andrew because he's pretty seasoned himself. Abel Ramos had no less than 4 cuts and 3 very traumatic swellings, and he got him through that fight. And I said, you will never ever have to work that hard ever again. If you can get through that, then you can get through anything. And that's kind of the way I looked at my fights with Sergey Lipinets, with Sean Porter.
Yeah.
Sean Porter had 2 fights with Julio Diaz that people don't even remember. One was a draw, one was a win where he was cut to shreds. He was cut really bad the night against Devin Alexander, and he was cut really bad the night that he lost to Cal Brook. And I was in his corner all of those nights. Bottom line, you go through those things with your fighters, and you just, you know, you learn from everything that you do, and it just kind of brings you closer that you forever have that bond with them.
I love Sean Porter. He just is so positive, period. Like, I mean, just exceptional too. And he's so like in tune with, you know, improving. Like with every fight, we see so much of his diversity coming through.
You know, I wrapped Sean's hands for a long time, and Sean's the one fighter that I can basically wrap his hands, and we can both just close our eyes because I've done it so many times that he knows every little rhythm of how to move his hand and when to. It's just weird. I wrapped Sean's hand so many times. And I always look forward to working with him, you know. And I'm blessed to work with a lot of great welterweights. And I work with Manny Pacquiao. I work with Errol Spence. I work with Sean Porter. I work with Yordenis Ugas, who's got to be one of the nicest guys in the whole world. And if you think of the American dream and a story about a guy coming here and having some setbacks, and now look at him, he's a world champion. I mean, he's just a great guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike, you ever work with Alfredo Angulo?
No, because, you know, I've never worked with Angulo. I actually worked against him when he was with Abel Sanchez when he fought Kid Chocolate, Peter Quillen. It just wasn't Peter's night, man. Angulo's like that freight train. You know that train that holds up the train tracks? Just sitting there, but it's still coming. It's still coming, and it can still run you over. I know he had a tough outing in his last fight. And we'll see where he goes from here. But Angulo 10, 12 years ago, man, boy, he was a rough night's work. I mean, I still remember that fight in Mexico with him and James Kirkland. And you talk about two dudes that were putting it all on the line with James and Alfredo Angulo.
One quick question, Mike.
Ralphie, I know you got a question too.
I know you wrap hands. I want to know what you felt. Huh?
I'm good on time. You guys want to chop it up? Let's talk.
Oh, okay.
One quick question, Mike. I know you wrap hands. I want to know, have your input on when Wilder was talking about the glove thing with Fury.
Oh, that's a good question.
You know what? I don't pay much attention to those things. The athletic commission's there. That's their job to regulate it. I know the Nevada Commission very well. I work with them a lot. They know what they're doing. They're not the Christmas help. There's no way that if something was wrong with those gloves, in my opinion, I wasn't there, that they wouldn't have found something out. Because I've been backstage and I've been in the dressing rooms at many, many big fights. I've watched many fighters wrap their hands. I've been assigned to go watch the opponents. There's no way that something like that is slipping up. It's just funny that people come up with some of these wild, wild things. And I'm a very fact-driven person. I've talked to a mother today on a case that I'm working, a missing persons case. And the mother's coming up with all kinds of voodoo and witchcraft stuff. Now,
whoa!
Just stop and say, hey, look, I deal with one thing. I'm a fact finder. I deal with facts. Mm-hmm. So when somebody presents facts to me, then I can honestly, objectively look at those facts and make a decision. But hyperbole, innuendo, supposition, I think sometimes people just run with things because it's their way of trying to be involved and looking for some kind of attention. I was on a podcast a couple years ago and they said, Mike, how do you get known to be a cutman? And you see a lot of the younger cutmen at lower levels, and they got the dirty swab in their mouth, and they got swabs in their ears. They want everybody to know I'm the cutman. Man, if they don't make me wear a corner jacket, I just wear a regular shirt that says WarTape. I want as stuff as possible. And they ask me, well, how do you get known to be a good cutman? I said, you can ask any top cutman, all the guys that I mentioned, and they'll tell you. You stop the bleeding and you prevent the swelling. That is your job. Yeah. It's not much. I see people with their own self-gloss shirts. Joe Shit, the Ragman, Cutman. They got their own hat. They got a picture of themselves. But yet they've never worked with a world champion. Hey, I never work with a world champion. I don't want to listen to you. If you got championship pedigree, man, we can have a cup of coffee because I want to know.
Right.
But boxing's a weird sport. You don't see that in the NBA or Major League Baseball, the NFL. But anybody with a camera or anybody that all of a sudden has a Twitter account that can spread some kind of conspiracy theory or some kind of rumor, people don't ever want to hear anything good about you. You could go out right now and tell 20 people what a swell guy I am. And people will be like, man, who cares?
You are so right. This is what we deal with on the media side. Nobody wants to hear the positive, only the negative.
If you tell them 20 good things that I did, nobody will be interested. But you tell them one thing that I did bad or out of pocket, boy, that thing will spread like wildfire.
I have to agree with you 100%. Now we got our fan, Ralphie, and he says, who was the best cut man like Rafael Garcia, Chuck Bodak, Miguel Diaz, any other legendary cut men? My God, we got a lot of drinking to do. Cut man is our drink toast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned it before, but you got those guys there. You got Joe Chavez, who mentored me. You got Stitch Duran. You got Ralph Citro, Al Gavin, all those guys that I just mentioned. Those are the guys that have bridged the gap. Joe Souza, Chuck Bodak. I used to see Chuck Bodak at the gyms here in LA, back in the early 90s and stuff. I mean, he was a character, man. he was a character. And I think the guys that I mentioned from after Stitch, the Carlos Vargases and myself and Rudy Hernandez and Mike Vassels and, you know, Aaron Navarro's, Russ Anber, Danny Milano's, and Danny knows a lot about the historical Cutman. You know, we try to respect that craft. That's something that I talk to my son about, is kind of the next generation of guys, that it's something that goes back a very, very long time. And it's something that I don't take lightly. And during the pandemic, the early stages, I did a lot of research on these guys. And, you know, the one thing that they all had in common was they all worked, you know, almost 100 world title fights. And they worked with dozens of world champions. And besides the money that they made and all the great fighters that they work with, it changed my perspective. Yeah, I want to look at my bank account and I want to say, man, I'm doing okay. But when Mike Rodriguez is done doing this, maybe in 15, 20 years, I want to say that I worked well over 100 world title fights, and I worked with, you know, 40, 50 world champions, because that's the stuff that I can take with me. The other stuff I can't take with me.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's when you know it's a passion as opposed to something that you're doing just for money or just for glory.
Yeah, but if you take something that you have passion for and turn it into a legitimate business, then that's also good. But I think as I've gotten deeper into this and got some years underneath me, I always think that I'm blessed. I have a good job. I have a great paying job. I'm paid fairly by my fighters and by the promoters. I think as I move into this next chapter of my life, now that I'm 55 and I got that AARP card that they sent me in the mail that really pissed me off, is that
you got the AARP.
Yeah, man, I'm getting discounts at Denny's, and you know what I mean. I can get
discounts to travel though.
I can get a. I don't see no gray hair or nothing, man. You look good.
If I showed you guys a picture of my mom and dad, you wouldn't even believe that they are my mom and dad. My mom and dad. My dad still looks like, my dad's kind of in shape like a fighter still, and not like, oh, he looks good for an old guy. No, my dad just looks good in general. My mom.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's amazing. So y'all got good genes.
When we're done with this, I'm gonna text you a picture so you can show each other here. But you know what? I try to stay in shape. I am blessed with some good genes. I have a little bit of gray hair. I don't dye it either. So I don't like some of these cats that are running around that I see them with jet black hair. I'm like, you're 50 years old. Your hair is darker than it was when I knew you and you was 20. You know what I mean?
You're talking about somebody specific. I can tell.
And I gotta punch them, but I'm not gonna give them up because I don't want to give up their game. You know, because maybe they're trying to do a little something. They're trying to make a little bit of a comeback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Now I wanted to get to. Oh, you had a question about what he's talking about?
No, I just want to get to.
He's just chilling over there. He's got his hat. He's got his glasses on. I mean, life is good. He's got his cup.
Hey, I'm chilling, Mike. Hey, I'm chilling, man.
We got on our Boxing PlayHouse gear tonight.
Boxing PlayHouse.
I got on the red. He got on the camouflage. So you know, we trying to do things.
Oh, I did have a question.
Okay.
Mike, what was that one fight, man? Was there one fight where you felt like, wow, I'm on a big stage now?
Yeah, the Manny Pacquiao Keith Thurman fight. There was other ones before that, but that was the one where I looked around and I'm like, I'm really like don't wake me up. It's like I was telling my son that I had a dream about 20 years ago, and I'm still mad to this day. I had a dream that I signed a 4-year, this is back 20 years ago, $35 million NBA contract. I'm at the press conference and everything.
You had a big dream.
Man, what
I woke up and I was pissed off for like 2 weeks because in that dream, I was signing an NBA contract, and I woke up from a dream.
Mike, what is that like to be around Manny Pacquiao? I mean, somebody like that is.
He's a huge fan because he's part Filipino, so you know.
Yeah, you know what's nice about it? The Filipino press really took a liking to me, so they gave me a lot of coverage in the Philippines. So I got a lot of attention over there at that casino, you know, that weekend after the fight and stuff.
Yeah.
Big Mike did okay.
Yeah, you got a lot of Filipino fans out of it too. as well as Keith Thurman. I mean, we were actually there that same weekend, and we were having a like, wow, this is like, oh, I'm so glad we're here. You know, we were on the floor for a change. It was like amazing feeling. Like the energy was just dang. And then, you know, by the end of the fight, I seen where a lot of Filipino fans there for Pacquiao actually came on board and was like, okay, Keith earned our respect. So I kind of enjoyed that too.
I've had a chance over the years to know Keith. I remember a lot of people would think, you know, him and Sean Porter aren't friends. I remember when Sean fought Kell Brook, Keith was in the hotel with us the whole day, the weigh-ins and stuff. You know, they go back a long way, and it's just business. And I've had a chance to travel and be on the same plane with Keith Thurman and be at the same hotels with him when he's doing some commentating or his fighting. You know, I like Keith. I've met Keith's parents. They're really good people. I had coffee with his mom and dad in Brooklyn one time.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, Keith's a dude that kind of bangs to the beat of his own drum, but there's nothing wrong with that. He ain't changing for anybody. And you know what? He shouldn't have to. He was a world champion, and he's very capable of winning another world title.
Yeah,
Mike,
he's awesome.
You know, Keith's dad makes soap. I bought soap from his daddy.
Oh,
his daddy makes soap.
Soap? Like?
Yeah, some good soap.
Good, man.
Yeah, his daddy does, man.
Yeah, it's really good. And then they have like the mom. She makes like the best desserts too.
Yeah.
So that's like they like. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hang out with the Thurmans a little bit more. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah. And we got Dalia Duran. She says you're one of the best cut men. Oh, as well as Ruben Gomez.
Let me tell you something.
That's Uncle Ruben.
She knows her stuff. The first person that texts me after every fight, the first person that texts me early in the morning on every holiday is Ruben Gomez. Okay?
Wow. Oh, he's so sweet.
I love Ruben. Ruben goes back a long way. When I hear a text message go off on Christmas, Easter, when I check my phone after a big fight, when I get back to the locker room, there's always one person that's 100% there, 100% of the time, and that's Ruben Gomez. And I love that.
That's all right.
You remember we got to meet him on our podcast about the Roberto Duran special. Yeah, he was amazing.
And he goes a long way back. And Ruben, he may tell you, but you know, all his kids that come from the neighborhood, from the barrio, are highly educated people and very, very successful. And that's a tribute to Ruben and his wife, that they came to this country with nothing, and they've turned themselves into the American dream and success. Let me tell you something. Ruben Gomez touches my heart all the time.
Oh, yeah. And also he was telling us about how good of a cook his wife is, as well as Dalia Duran. She was talking about you used to go over there and it just be like food down the entire, table. Anything you want.
You see Ruben's little belly? Of course, his wife's a good cook, man. Ruben is living good. I see Ruben. Yeah. I give him a hug all the time. He's just a genuine man, and he's one of the people that's on my Mount Rushmore when I think of people that had an influence in me in different ways. Miguel Diaz, Joe Chavez, Stitch, Ruben Gomez. Those are the people that I think about when I look at my Mount Rushmore. Those are the people that are on it that I've physically been able to know and have an influence on me. And Ruben's right up there with them. So when you look at that side profile of Mount Rushmore, and you're looking at like Jefferson and there you see Ruben Gomez over there for me.
Ruben, yes, Ruben is amazing. And he had those Duran shoes. He got some of the shoes and the shorts, I think.
He beat Davey Moore.
Yeah, he got the whole.
Tell Dalia there that her dad loves In-N-Out burgers. Okay, he loves In-N-Out burgers. We sat there and ate those In-N-Out burgers out here in California, and we were just sitting there. I'm sure he wasn't sitting there going, "Oh my God, I'm next to Cutman Mike Rodriguez." He was just hungry, but the whole time,
I'm hungry.
Yeah,
I'm sure burgers would be good though, Mike. They be good right after a good fight too,
I'm in the drive-thru and I'm like, I want to call like 20 people. Like I'm in the car with Roberto Duran. You know what I mean? For baseball fans, That's like being in the car with Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle or Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
How many people would say that?
And we're there sitting there eating sandwiches. I wanted to like take 1,000 pictures, but I'm not a groupie like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta try to be chill. You're like, okay, I'm this Roberto. This the hands of stone, and we just cool.
The greatest lightweight. You can't talk me out of it. He's the greatest lightweight that ever lived. I mean, the greatest lightweight.
Totally agree. Yeah, 100%.
Skipped junior welterweight, and he went up and beat Ray Leonard. I mean, he had wars with fighters when he was like the movie Coming to America when he was 148 years old. He knocked out he knocked out Davey Moore, Iran Barkley. I mean, he's just. I mean,
yeah, he was super middleweight. I mean, wow.
Gave Hagler hell. You know, when he fought at super middleweight, he looked like Ruben Gomez. You know what I mean? You know, that was great. That just goes to show you what a great fighter he is. And when I look at great inside pressure fighters, people that were so relaxed in the pocket, I look at Roberto Duran, I look at James Toney. I mean, these guys were just masters of the inside. I hated Sugar Ray Leonard growing up. I hated him. He knocked out Tommy Hearns. He beat Roberto Duran. He beat Marvin Hagler. But you know what's funny is now that I'm 55, Sugar Ray Leonard is one of my favorite fighters of all time. And I got in a fist fight with my best friend one time over Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard when I was 15 years old. And I hated Sugar Ray. But let me tell you something.
We got in a fist fight. Stop.
Man.
We got in a fight eating breakfast. My friend's mom was making pancakes, and we broke the table, and we're fist fighting over a fight that we had nothing to do with. But I was rooting for Tommy, and he was rooting for Sugar Ray. And because I was
just like you and your cousin.
I was tall and skinny, and all my cousins, my nickname was Hitman because I was fighting. So that to this day, my older cousins call me Hitman because I was tall and skinny.
That's cute. Must have been something to it.
But looking back and appreciating what Sugar Ray was and what he did as a fighter, he's got to be in my top 10 now because it's just greatness. It's just greatness. And if you can't appreciate greatness, because it doesn't come around very often, you know. And I've had a chance to talk to Sugar Ray a couple of times, him doing some commentating and being on the road. And that's what's crazy is the guys that you see fighting growing up, Larry Holmes, and I've had lunch, and Boom Boom Mancini, and you know I was a huge Alexis Arguello fan. Alexis Arguello is probably my favorite fighter of all time. And I never got a chance to meet him. But for the most part, I got a chance to meet a lot of my idols. And sometimes when you meet some of your idols, it doesn't work out the way you think it's going to work out. But I've been blessed that I've always had a good experience with all of them.
Man.
We got Ralphie. He says, "What's the last fight? Let's see. What last fight do y'all want to see Manny Pacquiao fight besides Mayweather? For me, it would be Crawford. I do not see any other fight for him but that one."
You know what? And that's a great point that Ralphie makes. And I think a lot of people want to see that fight. And if they're able to make that fight, you know, I definitely won't be disappointed. I mean, Bud Crawford he's a great fighter. I mean, Bud could compete in any area. And the one thing that people they may know about Bud is Bud's a dog. He'll get it.
Yeah.
He'll dig real deep. And I honestly think even at Manny's age right now, that's still a great fight. I'm in camp when Manny trains. You know, he's still got all his quick twitch muscles. He keeps himself in great shape. You don't become an 8-division world champion and basically be a champion for 20 years if you're not keeping yourself in great shape. I think the fans, besides maybe wanting to see Bud and Errol Spence, then you know what? Let's do Bud and Manny. I think that would be good. I think it would be good for boxing, just in general. After everything we've been through this last year, I mean, that would just be good on so many levels.
Yeah, a big mega fight, welterweights that's at the top, and it's just like I said, it would just be an amazing way for Manny to retire. You know, with that big fight and one more fight apparently, because I think it's like they keep talking about 2 fights. So, like, if you can still go with the young crowd, you know you in there.
I was telling man, let's do about 5 or 10. I'm down. Shoot.
What about you? Who do you want to see Pacquiao fight next?
Either Errol Spence or Crawford. You know, I would like to see him go out with one last big fight. You know, either one. Crawford
will he be better than Mayweather if he does fight a Bud as one of his last fights? Will you be willing to say that then?
Well, you know what? My own feelings on that, because I don't look at wins and loss records. I look at who you fought where you really had to put your ass on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, they're making this documentary about the 4 Kings, and they're leaving a couple of guys out because you should put Benitez in there.
Right.
Those guys, man, they didn't duck anybody. And I'm not saying Mayweather did, because I mean you don't fight to be 50-0.
Right.
And just by accident. But we all have our personal preferences. I mean, Manny, like Oscar De La Hoya, people talk a lot of mess, but Oscar fought everybody. And a lot of people forget. They see Oscar, the promoter, Oscar the celebrity. They forget all the great fighters that he fought. I mean, in 1 year, I want to say he fought Felix Trinidad, Obakar, Ike Corte, Yori Boy Campos. I mean, that's just in 1 year.
I know. I miss the days when these champions was fighting more than twice a year.
I mean, Oscar used to fight 4 or 5 times a year to defend his title. You know, so
I think the same thing can be true about Mayweather too. I think people actually forget how many great fights he had to have leading up to that Oscar De La Hoya fight. You know, they just want to concentrate on the later part of his career. But I'm like, you know, now the fighters that's out, some of the boxers now, they want to skip over all that, you know, beginning stages of your career and them tough fights, and they want to just go to being pay-per-view stars. It don't work like that.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the generation and with social media, is that people want to be rich and famous, but it's like, what are you rich and famous for? What have you done? And I don't begrudge anybody for wanting to make the right business decisions. You know, I get it. We're in a totally different. We live in a totally different society. I mean, we've been in a pandemic for over a year. That should tell you everything you need to know. I try to say the business things. I just wait at the phone ring when it's taking Mike. We'd like to hire you for all the fights. We'd like to hire you to work this fight. You know, any piece that I can have to be a part of boxing, I'm very grateful for.
Absolutely. And then we got Chris Young. He's our Florida Boxing Commission referee, author, and judge. He says, it's good to hear from the unsung heroes, the foreman. Right? Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. For me, being respected by my peers, by fighters, by referees, judges, people of the commission, you know, it lets me know that I'm doing things the right way, because I respect what everybody does in this sport. Everybody has a job to do, and it's like, be an all-star at your position. Too many people want to outkick their covers. They want to get out in front of things, and they don't realize the way you last in this business is by being consistently good all the time. And that's something that I try to do. You know, we're human, man. We're all going to have off nights. Nobody's perfect, but you know, if you can, first of all, you have to love what you do, and you respect the people that have done it before, that you try to do it in the right way, you're not going to go wrong. And if you dedicate yourself to get better, whether you're a judge, a referee, a boxing writer, a fighter, a promoter, a manager, or a cut man, or a trainer, the more things you do and you do it the right way, good things are going to happen.
Okay, we got David Bowser. What's up, Bowser? Yes, I'll make it bigger.
All right, Dave. What's up, Dave? Dave said, I agree with Mr. Rodriguez 100%. It was a different era back then. It was about money. It was about money, but it was also about fighting the best competition. Much like in the NBA, where players are picking players to play with in order to win titles, as opposed to playing against the best competition to win titles. Hey, I agree with that.
And that's just maybe the trend in society because, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson never in a million years were going to team up. You were never going to see Kevin McHale and James Worthy, be on the same team. You see all these great players in the NBA, and some of them never won a title, like a Charles Barkley. I'm not a big fan of the super teams, but who's to tell another grown person what they should do with their business, Excuse me. As long as they ain't hurting nobody, and they're doing things the right way, they're entitled. They're entitled to make decisions what's best for them. Because I know none of us, I know none of you want anybody telling you what you should do with your business. I know I don't, and that's the beauty about living in a, in a free country where you can do what you want and say what you want. But it does take. But on the flip side of that, it does take away from me from that legacy, that competitive part. Like Michael Jordan, I mean, people don't realize he had to go through the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like going through, Tyson and Holyfield.
It's different competition level.
And the defensive rules were different. I mean, when Michael Jordan in the late '80s, early '90s was going to the basket, them dudes was trying to chop your head off. Now you put 2 hands on somebody, and they call it flagrant foul. They got to go review it in the booth to see if it's flagrant 1 foul.
I know. Remember the Detroit, the bad boys? Whoa! Nobody wanted to deal with them.
And Vinnie Johnson and Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas and Bill Lane Beer and James Buddha Edwards. I mean, you had some rough cats. Adrian Dantley, Mark Aguirre. Come on, man. Those were some grown ass men right there.
Yeah, they did their thing, man. They did their thing. Well, you had a question?
Yeah, I want to know. Hey, Mike, how would you feel about being in a boxing video game if somebody approached you?
Man, let's do it, man. I mean, yeah, they can put my big head on there. They have like a big head, like.
Oh no!
Because I'm 6'4", so a lot of the fighters I work with are short. So I'm always the one that stand unless I'm working with a heavyweight, like a Chris Arreola or a Gerald Washington or Dominic Brazil. I'm always like a foot taller than everybody.
Over them.
Yeah, so it's like it's like in that movie, the Next Friday when they said Evo Dottie, he got more head than he got body. Remember that?
Yeah, right. You need to stop. You need to stop for real.
My last question for you, Mike, would be: who's your Mount Rushmore? Who would you put the 4 guys up there?
For fighters, for Cutman.
Fighters.
Fighters for my Mount Rushmore. For me, and this isn't necessarily like they were better than other people not on the list, but these are the fighters that brought me the love that I have for the sport. Would be Bobby Chacon, Alexis Arguello, Wilfred Benitez, and Roberto Duran.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a nice little Mount Rushmore. I kind of wish we did have a boxing Mount Rushmore, right?
And you could have like a side piece Mount Rushmore. You know what I mean? And it would include Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, guys like Livingston Bramble. These are the guys that kind of get lost in the shuffle. Marvin Hagler. I mean, there's just so many great fighters, and people concentrate a lot of times on the all-time greats, but they don't realize some of the guys that these guys had to fight. That were
right.
They might not have been great for 10 years or 8 years. Buddy McGirt. Buddy McGirt is one of my best friends in boxing. People they forget. They see Buddy now, and Buddy's always laughing and joking around. Excuse my language, man. Buddy McGirt was a bad motherfucker, man. Buddy was a bad dude. He tells me the story how his pro debut, he made like $150 like 2 days after he graduated, high school. That's all he cared about was, man, I'm going to make like $200 for this fight. That's all he cared about. I've had a chance to travel overseas and work with many Buddy's fighters. We've won world titles together. And Buddy's a great friend. And we always, when we get in the gym together and we have private conversations, we don't we talk about those kind of things, you know, the little small nuances that other people may not pick up on. Buddy's about 2 years older than me, but we got a lot of great conversations because we can relate to each other about an era in boxing that, you know, some of these Johnny-come-latelys, you know, they think boxing started in 2010. You know, this goes back a long, long way, man. And what cracks me up when they start doing a little bit of research and they start mentioning fighters they've never actually physically seen and given their opinions. And I'm like, but hey, do your thing, man. I never tell anybody else what to do. I'll just be like Kermit the Frog. I'll sip my wine and I'll just mind my own business.
Hey, Mike, didn't Bobby Chacon, did he fight Bazooka Limon?
Who, Bobby Chacon?
Yeah, did him and Bazooka Limon fight?
2 fights with Bazooka Limon that if you Google them, will be one of the 2 best fights you've ever seen. And then you Google his fights, the 2 fights with Cornelius Boza Edwards, which, believe it or not, were even better than that.
Wow. Well, I knew he was the fight back in the early 80s, man. I remember some of them fights.
Bobby was a Southern California guy. I grew up in Northern California before I moved to LA 30-something years ago. March 5th, and I want you guys to fact check me because I'm a fat guy. Not fat. Not fat, fact. March 5th, 1985, Bobby Chacon at the Memorial Auditorium in Sacramento, California, fought Freddie Roach. On Freddie Roach's birthday, March 5th, which coincidentally, my grandfather and I went to the fight because it was my birthday. And I joined the military 2 weeks later. And I always tell Freddie this story, and I told Bobby this story, that I was there at their fight, March 5th, 1985. Go on BoxRec. I want you guys to fact check me. Freddie and Bobby fought that night. And it was my birthday, and it was Freddie's birthday. And 2 weeks later, I was in boot camp in the military.
Wow. Yeah. Your life is just amazing because you just done been through so many transitions.
And 2 weeks before that, my dad and my brother, as a going away present to go into the military and a birthday present, we were in Reno at the Lawler Event Center for Livingstone Bramble Ray Mancini 2.
Ooh, you lucky.
Livingstone Bramble, as my dad put it, get the beat out of Mancini. Not beat this. He didn't beat the shit out of him. It's worse when someone gets the beat out of you.
That Bramble was a tough dude, man. Bramble
was a bad dude.
Yeah, he beat Ray twice. Twice he beat Ray.
Beat him like he stole something.
Hey, Mike, what about Hector Camacho?
You know what? When you look at a guy that was an entertainer and a great fighter that had longevity, you know, Hector, as displayed, he had a lot of demons. But what people don't realize is he was in a lot of big fights. And I remember when he was coming up out of Harlem, you know, in the late 70s and the early 80s, probably more of the early 80s, Hector Camacho was a bad dude. And when it was macho time, there was nothing like macho time. Imagine macho time right now. I'm not talking like Taco Bell nacho time. I'm talking like Camacho. He had that big thing that said macho. I mean, it was an event and everybody wanted to tune in. Whether you loved him or not, macho time was
entertainer.
I can't remember if he fought Bobby Chacon. I know he fought Bazooka Limon, right?
I think he did when he was down at lightweight, but those guys were already transitioning out. Those guys had already Rosa Edwards, Bobby Chacon, Rolando Navarrete. Those guys were already on the downside. They were a little bit older. He was in his prime.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I know your boxing knowledge goes way back, Mike. So I know that you really are like, you know, a lover of the sport.
People don't know this. When I was 13, 14, 15 years old, I used to have my own Mike Rodriguez ratings. I used to rankings. You need to bring that back. Run it back. Yes, we need a true rater that don't care about nobody. Okay, don't care about no promotional companies, no rings, no championships, no sanctioning bodies. It's just here it is. You love it or you hate it.
Bring it back, Mike.
Bring it back.
I've been at the historical end of boxing since I was about 8, 9 years old. I used to turn the TV down and I used to narrate and commentate my own fights. I had a tape recorder. I used to do the ring introductions. I would turn everything down and I would just do that. I honestly thought that my career was gonna be in broadcasting. I honestly did.
Wow. Yeah, because you really were. I mean, like, my thing when I was a kid, I was, practicing singing. I thought I was going to be like, the next En Vogue or Whitney or something. But, like, I know what you mean when you just sit there and hone in on your craft.
Let me tell you guys a story. I almost had a chance to date one of the girls from En Vogue. One of my buddies.
No.
Which one, Mike? Which one?
One of my buddies was dating En Vogue when they first started, one of the girls, and he hits me up one night, and he tells me, hey, look, I need you to be my wingman. There's these 3 girls, they're singers, they got a group. Of course, I'd never heard of them, and I was stupid. And he says, will you come with me? The one girl's tall, and she's really pretty. I said, no, man, I'm not going to go. I already got other plans. And like 2 months later, they completely blew up, and I missed my shot.
Oh, ouch! That one hurt.
Hey, and then I tried calling back, saying, "Can I come along now?" But it was too late, man. It was too late.
So it was Cindy, huh? It was Cindy, the tall one.
The tall one, yes. And I think one of them named Neary, right?
Yeah, Neary.
Yep, that's the one. She liked a ponytail. She always liked a ponytail.
That's the one. I did have a little shot at the. I thought I was going to get a shot at the title, but I vacated and I passed up the opportunity.
Yeah, if you think of it like a championship,
I decided to keep and wait.
Yeah,
that's a true story. I missed that one.
Hey, Mike, my cousin did the same thing. He used to write Cindy. She used to be on a TV show before the group, like when she was a teenager. And my cousin used to write her, and she wanted him to come to California, but he never went out there, and he missed the boat too, man.
We're both stupid.
Now, the last topic of the night is a little more serious because I do have to take this opportunity since you're into law enforcement. I have to ask you about our current situation as far as, black men getting shot. Well, black men and women getting more. It's more probability that they will be killed on the job, on your job, the type of job that you had, not investigator, but, just cops. I mean, what is something that you think would be like a great thing to be on one of these laws to help that situation? These bills that they're trying to pass. What do you think would make a difference?
I think in the end, it all comes down to individuals' interactions. I can only speak for me. I've been a cop for 30 years. I've been around all different kinds of races, religions, and for me, it always comes down to you treat people the way you'd want somebody to treat your mom. Now, because I've worked gang units and homicide units, I've had to interact with some very bad, violent folks. Okay, I can't even lie about that. So the interactions haven't always been under the best of circumstances. But, I've always taken pride that I've always done everything ethically and morally within the law to do my job to the best of my ability. And I just think that the problem that you see today, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It's been going on in certain parts of the country for many, many years. I mean, there's people in governments that thought the Confederate flag, was still a good thing. So that tells me everything that I need to know. The one thing that I've never lost sight of being in law enforcement is I'm a minority in this country. My grandparents on both sides of my family picked fruit in Central California. My grandfathers both ended up working the railroad, and one of my grandpas was in World War II in the Pacific. So between my dad, myself, my nephew, and my daughter, my family has served this country, for 4 generations. I remember my grandfather telling me about being prejudiced. My grandfather was a very dark-skinned Mexican. If you didn't know my grandfather, you might think he was black, okay?
I was gonna say, I mean, the way you act, I thought you had like a little, you know, a little something, just a little bit, you know. Yeah, you know, I black love in you.
Yeah, a little bit.
that little bit.
My first wife was black. My son Andrew, he's mixed. You know, I've always telling him to associate with both his races and to be proud. But the bottom line, regardless of what race you are, is you treat people with dignity and respect. There's a flip side of that too, though, because you do have some people that take advantage of the system and they get out of pocket and they run afoul of things, and then they want to cry wolf as well. We all know that's the case too. So I think that everybody, before they make a decision on anything, despite what they may think they're seeing, is they have to evaluate each situation individually. Because just like I don't want to be lumped in and categorized and stereotyped just based on how I look or what it looks like, I think the devil's always in the details. The devil's always in the details. But I think we need in this country both, what's the word I'm looking for? We need some common ground. And right now, there's not a lot of common ground. And I think once we can get some common ground, then some dialogue can start. And it has to start with everybody. We can't just say, hey, people on the left, people on the right, because everybody in their own mind feels like they can justify. You can always justify your feelings. Everybody can justify your feelings because it's something that you feel. You know, I always look at it this way. I'm a person. I'm a minority. I'm a person of color in this country. I talked to my grandpa many years ago before he died about him being discriminated against, and it's something that I did. Having a son that's interracially, that's half Mexican, half black, is something that's always been near and dear to me. You know, but I never tried to use race as a scapegoat or to my advantage. It's just always in a matter of you treat people with respect. You know, I don't look at people's color. I really don't. I feel like maybe I'm in the middle here. So you know, what the hell am I judging people for? You know, my family came out of the field picking prunes, picking nectarines, picking fruit. When I told my dad I wanted a box, what do you want a box? Peaches or nectarines? I said, no, I want to fight. He was thinking, you know, hey, I want to box up strawberries or peaches or plums. You know, it's just kind of an old joke, but I mean, it goes back that far. So, you know, but too many people on both sides are too quick to pass judgment. And that's the one thing I can say, because this is something I actually do for a living. I investigate I investigate homicide, and I deal with one thing, like I told you earlier. I deal with facts. And when you evaluate facts, you can come to a good, rational, objective conclusion. And I just think that we got to start doing that as much as possible, instead of jumping to conclusions on, depending on what side you're on or you think you're on. You got to stop jumping to conclusions and evaluate each incident, each person on its own merits or weaknesses or whatever's going on. So, but you treat people with respect, and until they don't deserve that respect, or they do something that's, you know, outside of the law that causes you to legally have to do something else, you know, you just try to do the best you can. It's not the easiest job in the world. I'm going to tell you that. Look, I've been through it all, through the Rodney King riots, through civil unrest. You know, I've testified on murder trials. I've had to send people away.
That's right, because you in LA, you in the Cali, like that used to be like a real hot spot for that type of stuff in the 80s and 90s.
I work LA County Sheriff's Homicide. I've been there for 33 years. I've been on this department since 1988. Believe it or not, Ronald Reagan was president when I was in the police academy. So I go back a long, long way, and I've seen a lot between the Sheriff's Department and LAPD. I mean, that is the major leagues of police work. You know, a lot of high-profile cases. I've worked on cases, you know, serial killers, Suge Knight. You know, I've worked cases that have been featured on CBS 48 Hours, Murder Mystery, Dateline. It's not an easy job, but I take tremendous pride that what makes me good at being what I do as a homicide detective, and what makes me good in boxing, maybe it's a combination of one or the other, making one helping out the other.
Yeah, exactly. See, and it get deep. Sometimes Mike, he's fun and everything, but he'll get deep with you some too. I like that. So I just want to thank you for all the service and everything you did. I forgot about you were in the Air Force too. So that's a military background as well. I mean, like, wow, what a career you having with all these different transitions.
You know what? If I died today, I've had a blessed life. I've been around some great people. I consider you guys part of my extended fight family, and I think we just need a lot. We just need to build a lot more bridges of goodwill in this world. You know, we're individually all capable of making this world a better place. It's just a matter of what if people can just get the hate out of their heart and find some common ground. And whether it's a family relationship or a political relationship or something that you're feeling in your heart, let's find some common ground and talk about it, because it's really hard to hate somebody that you know. It's hard to hate somebody that you just hate for any other reason, just the fact that you think you're supposed to hate them. But sometimes you got to look somebody in the eye and you got to shake their hand and say, you know what, let's find some common ground here. I think we can.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, we've done it before. We've been close before. Yeah. You know, it's always like some bad actors that get things ramped back up again. But I always see it at every event we go to for boxing. Nobody's seeing color that night. We're just all boxing fans. We're there for boxing. We're happy. We're energetic. We're in love with the sport, and there's no color in that. So if we could have like a country that had that same passion or something for, you know, American pride and things like that again, I think that also would help.
Just put on some good music, have some good food, put some Marvin Gaye on, or like that. Anyway, guys, I got to run. I'm expecting a call on one of my cases. You could hear the phone ringing back there.
Okay, Mike.
Anytime you guys want to chop it up, man, just hit me up. Much love.
Hey, yes, much love, Mike.
You too. Thank you. And we definitely want you to come back. Thank you so much for coming on the Boxing Playhouse tonight.
All right, Mike.
Take care.
You too, man.
Oh, he's an amazing guy. You know, he is just one person that is like a wealth of information, and he got so much experience with, you know, different parts of his life, you know, that you can take a perspective from. So I always like to have an interview with him. This is my second time. I think I might have 5, because we didn't even get to some of our questions. Sorry, Rob. I was trying to ask the question.
Thanks, Chi, if you're still on there. I saw the comment.
Yes, thanks so much, Chi, for the support.
Yeah.
You want to send love to your family this week that lost your cousin?
Yeah. To my Figueroa family, Cuban family here in Florida. You know, I lost a cousin a couple days ago. So yeah, I want to, you know, shout out to the family. You know, prayers with everybody. You know, we all trying to get through this situation. My big cousin, Emelio, you know, he passed. So.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely.
He's definitely in a more peaceful setting now.
Yeah, and he's the only cousin that every time I post, you know, a boxing thing, he would share it on his page. You know,
isn't that
he shared almost everything I post. He would share it. So
that was the same thing with Caroline. She was the only cousin I had that like shared everything that we did.
Yeah, so big cuz, you know, I fully gonna miss him.
Yeah,
and you know, the support that he was giving us. So.
Yeah, we definitely want to send shout out and love to the Wright family who lost their son to the violence in Minnesota. And we also want to wish the George Floyd family success in what they're trying to accomplish to get justice. And if anybody else has any questions or concerns or want to talk, you know,
a few of them.
Rob, I know you had a few questions. We might we just gonna let Emelio do it. Oh, he said no worries.
Flowers, it's all good. Nice guy, Mike.
But you know what? He is a great guy.
Spread the love, folks.
Yes, but we're gonna answer his question because even though it was for Mike, we're gonna answer his question, and that'll be our last thing for tonight.
Hey, Mike, what was the 3 best fights ever you watched?
The 3 best fights
ever he watched.
Oh, well, you know, I had something that I saw this weekend, and it was more like, what were the 3 or the 4 fights you've ever watched that were canceled or they were supposed to happen but they didn't happen? Yeah, so that's another great question, Rob. We're gonna have to save that for Mike for a different time period
You know, when I think about fights canceled, like the first one that hit my mind is when Lennox Lewis and Riddick both supposed to fight and both threw the belt in the garbage. That was a fight that was supposed to happen and never did.
Right.
You know, my favorite, one of my biggest fights that I ever watched that I love was the first Hearns and Leonard fight. And that was one of them. The first Leonard Duran fight, that was another big one for me. Even you know, when Ray Leonard fought Marvin Hagler, that was a big one. It was exciting, but that fight was really big when that jumped off Leonard and Hagler, because Leonard had been retired for so long, and people, you know, wanted him to come out of retirement and fight Marvin Hagler.
Yeah.
That was a big fight, and Mike Tyson and then
that was the two, right?
Yeah, and that first fight with Mike Tyson and Vander Holyfield was a real big fight that people were talking back and forth who would win that fight. So
it got canceled?
No, I didn't get that. Those were big fights that
that you actually saw.
That I seen that.
Oh,
that
okay. Okay, so I had this. Let me see. Here's some of the ones they had. So they had the Wilder versus Povetkin that was canceled that time.
Okay.
They had the BJ Saunders and Andrade fight.
Oh, okay.
They had the Big Baby and AJ fight.
That was close.
That was real close, like a week out.
That could have been Big Baby's rise to fame, because Andy Ruiz got that
he got that title shot.
That put him in a good place when he beat AJ.
And who was these two?
David Haye and
Fury. Okay, so people wanted to see David Haye and Fury. They also wanted to see David Haye in a 2 with Klitschko, wasn't it? Or 3. Like he had like a couple of them that he never were able to make.
Yeah, those fights were close to being made, and somehow they didn't jump off.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just a few of them. I thought you were going to bring up the Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray too. That never happened, because that was that would have been a classic. And Marvin Hagler, of course, ended up retiring after Sugar Ray made that decision.
Yeah, I think after that fight, Ray Leonard went back into retirement. You know, Ray retired about 3-4 times. And I think he went back into retirement, and by the time he decided to come back and fight, Marvin had to move to Italy and retired, and so he wasn't even thinking about coming back no more. And that's when Ray had a few more fights at the end of his career. But yeah, that was a good fight. That was a fight that should have happened, a rematch.
Remember they had
even Hearns and Hagler should have been a rematch on that one.
Yeah, those are all great fights, right? And another fight that never happened that would have been a great fight in their prime. Not only Manny Pacquiao and a Floyd Mayweather, but also a fight between Kell Brook versus Amir Khan. That was like a fight people really wanted to see when they were both in their prime, and we didn't get to see that one.
That's another fight that didn't happen that a lot of people want to see. I'm gonna go way back.
Okay,
that was
Pernell,
no, before that, Ali and Foreman.
Okay, yeah.
You know, they wanted to see the rematch. You know, Foreman had got a couple wins under his belt.
The Ali was like already having signs of MS by then, right?
No, he was still,
Parkinson's.
He not quite, you know, because Ali had to, he still had to throw in Manila with Joe Frazier, but there was still some time in there with him and Foreman. You know, after Foreman beat Ron Lau, a lot of people thought he was going to get that rematch with Ali, but things happen, so.
Things definitely do happen. You just never know.
Yeah, there's a lot of big fights that, should have happened that didn't happen.
Okay, we actually got an update for you, Rob, and that update from Mike. He's going to answer your question. He says it was Ray Leonard, Alexis Aguelo, and Roberto Duran. But I don't know which fights, so that we have to find out. We just got to have Mike back again.
What was Mike responding to?
He was responding to the 3 best fights ever you watched. So
he said Ray Leonard.
He said Ray Leonard. The best 3 fights.
That was another fight that people talked about back in the day. Alexis Arguello and Roberto Duran. Duran was lightweight champion, and Alexis was junior lightweight champion coming up. and they thought, you know, that was going to be a big fight back in the 70s, Alexis Arguello and Durant. You know, they became great friends until Alexis' death, but that was a fight that would have really been, you know, something special back in, you know, especially for the Latin community.
Right.
But Durant, I think Durant just, you know, went up to welterweight, and Alexis stayed at that lightweight, and that fight never happened.
And Justin, he says, I wish we would have had Foreman Ali too. So he agrees with you.
Yeah, that was.
And Justin has a fight coming up soon out in the Midwest. So we got to have him on so he can talk more about his. Definitely. I wonder if it's going to be a cruiserweight or heavyweight. But we'll just get some more information and let you guys know on our page and with the podcast with Justin. Go Ridgeway! And then we got Rob. He says, that's cool. Thanks, Mike, and you guys. Absolutely. Thank you. I know it's late.
Okay.
Oh, and Justin says he's going to be at cruiserweight.
All right, Justin.
Justin's going to do cruiserweight. Good for you. You stayed down. He said he was going to stay down. So, yeah, he does really good at cruiserweight, too. So we can't wait to see and get more information on that. For those of you guys that don't know, Mike represents WarTape. So get your WarTape, guys. And then also, we want to thank Mike Rodriguez himself for coming on to the show. We also need you guys to sign up for our YouTube page, Boxing PlayHouse YouTube page. All you got to do is go to YouTube and type in or search Boxing PlayHouse, and we'll come up. And then just make sure you subscribe, because then you can actually get the notifications when we go live from that particular platform. So for tonight, we're going to wish you guys all the best. Oh, wait a minute. Mike just said it was Chacon versus Boza Edwards.
Okay, that was a good fight.
Yes. Leonard Hearns won.
That was my favorite right there.
And then Ali Frazier, Thriller in the Manila.
Hey,
whoa, that's a great list. Yeah, that's an amazing list.
I bet Mike remember them fights with Matthew Saad Muhammad and Marvin Johnson and Yaki Lopez and Glenn Johnson. Not Glenn Johnson, but I can't think of my man, Marvin Johnson.
I told you we have to have him back because he knows all of the stuff and can really conversate with you on some of the historical fights that we don't talk about anymore, which people should get highlights of.
Yeah, that was a great era during the time when Bazooka Lemon was fighting. We had the light heavyweights going at it, Matthew Saad Muhammad. So, great list indeed.
Yeah, that was a good list, right, Rob? And he says he's going to go to YouTube now. So you got me in stereo. Oh, he's so nice. Okay, so guys, thanks so much for having us on tonight with you in your homes. Make sure you pray for everybody that's, having a tough 2 weeks or whatever they may be going through in their life. And remember to always appreciate those that stick with you, stand by you, and stand under you for support.
Oh, Steph.
All right, guys, we're going to talk to you later. Cutman, y'all. Good night.